This is a video about how to repair the controls for the lumbar support for a Mercedes C63 AMG W204. At this stage, I've removed the passenger seat from the car, which is a very simple process. You just have to remove the 4 screws and then disconnect the battery, and then you just have to disconnect the connectors under the front of the seat. In this area, there's the airbag and 2 other electrical connectors. Obviously, at this point, you want to disconnect the battery before disconnecting these connectors. At this point, the seat is on its side, and I'm working on the inner side towards the center console. There is a plastic cover here, this plastic cover, which has 2 screws that have to be removed. One from the outside in, which is this one, and one from the inside out. This is the location of the second screw. With the panel now removed, and this is how it looks like from the inside. It just has a bunch of clips and the locations of the 2 screws. So with the panel now removed, we could see the location of the wiring. So we're interested in the wiring that has the fabric insulation, and we could see how it's wrapped around the other wire and how it's going this way. It's going towards the controls. So what we're going to do is we're going to release the slack of this wire, and we're going to pull it in a little bit to expose the area that is subject to being pinched, and then we're going to insulate that area and push it back in. We're going to cut 2 zip ties to release the slack coil of the cable. This is one, and this is the other. The slack coil has now been released. It connects to this white connector right here. This is the connector where the lumbar module goes to. We're also going to take this connector and release it from its rack where it's mounted, so we can feed it back, so we can feed the slack coil back. Now we're starting to work on the backrest. The purpose of the work is to be able to peel back the leather of the side bolster so as to see the other side of the cable, this side which is above the hinge. So we have to work on these 2 screws, remove those 2, and then we're going to be working on separating this cover from the plastic. The objective being, as we can see here, the cable goes through the hinge into the controls. So now what we have to do is get on the other side of the cable, the one which is hidden behind this bolster here. That's why we have to start working from here first. Now we're going to start to use one of the 2 special tools which we've made, which is a flat screwdriver with a sharpened edge, and the edge has been bent a little bit, and then we've taped it with some clean white electrical tape. Obviously any color would work. The idea is to protect the plastic, as we're going to use this tool to pry the cover, the front cover of the seat, the leather, off of the back cover of the plastic. So we're going to work to pry this part away from this part. So we're going to pull it up and push it to the side. Working to pry this off, there will be 4 areas where there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas where there are plastic clips that hold in place this molding. So these are the areas. You could see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what happens in these areas, there's a plastic piece here that holds in place this molding. So in these areas, you basically, these are the locations where you have to pry it out. And then when you're done, it's just gonna look like this. The next thing that we have to do is to remove this flex nut, which holds in place this plastic piece here, which is sewn to the leather seat backrest front cover. Once we remove this, or at least we slacken it, then we lift it, release the tension here, because this helps keep this front part of the cover taut. So once we release this, it slackens it, and then we can feed from the bottom the leather, where now we release that portion of the cover from underneath, so we can pull it out from here. And then once this ear here is slackened, we move it up. So then we start peeling the leather from this backrest, this plastic backrest. And as we're doing this, hopefully we'll gain access here to the other part of the wire where we need to be. So at this point, we've peeled the front cover corner out, and we fed some more slack, and we're able to expose the area where the problem is, where it rubs. So we're gonna tape this one nicely, a thick layer of tape, and then we're just gonna keep going around it, and we're just gonna make sure that the area that now is gonna be in the back of the hinge is gonna be protected with a lot of tape or whatever other protection measure you want to take. This is the second tool that I was talking about, the second special tool, which is basically a regular hammer that needs to have one of the faces taped up with clean tape. I'm just using white electrical tape. And the use for this second special tool is every molding in the seat. This is very similar with a upholsterer's tool. So once every molding is put back in the groove where it has to go, it can be, I guess, tapped back into the groove to where it goes in 100%. So this is the use for this. As far as the remaining part of the work, installation is reverse of removal, and the choice as far as what to do with the cable, the electrical cable that gets pinched, is yours. Replace it, cut it, solder new cable, replace it. There are a couple of options that you have. The way the cable is put through there are two conductors in that harness that goes to the lumbar controls. There are only two conductors, but these two conductors then get branched out into 3, 4, and more conductors. So they can be replaced at the point where they're branching out to 2 larger diameter conductors and then soldered in, or you could just fix them or solder them, or if they're not cut, just tape them and put them in a protective sleeve in the area where they get pinched.